I want to talk a very interesting thing I've just more recently experienced, and I think it's very relevant here, and it's something that talks about considering longer and fewer shifts. And I'll share my personal experience here. As of 1 year ago, I reduced my 4 shifts a week, which were 6-hour shifts basically, to 2 12-hour shifts, and that sounds very daunting off the top. But when I really look back now, and I'm 1 year in, and there's some crazy byproducts that came out of this. I guess first of all, when you talk about doing a longer shift, a 12-hour shift, in terms of an office that needs to be open 7 days a week, or at least extended hours, it really satisfies your ability to actually handle the patients. So when you get multiple doctors that are in this same sync, in this same flow, it's much easier to cover off your entire 7 days of continuous operation. Here's the interesting thing. The first few weeks into this long 12-hour shift, because when I'm doing this, the way I prefer to do it is I didn't take any breaks. So you basically schedule your day right through, and the breaks will occur naturally where you can jump off and get some nutrition or get something to drink, a little more coffee. But and the support team that I have with me, they will alternate breaks to get enough time to go up, have lunch, and whatever. And you also got the requirement, the employment standards requirements that you do have to meet. But here's a really interesting byproduct. It was very important to me when I get into this thought in my mind, I never want my patient quality to suffer. So I was very worried at the end of the shift, after a long shift, not only would your productivity drop, but most important, the quality of dentistry and my interfaces with the patient would start to go down. The first week, that was the case. A little bit, the quality didn't suffer, I pushed through. But it's very interesting now that I'm a year down. My energy is very much the same at the end of the day. My assistant team, which includes 3 assistants, and also my primary book control lady, that are all part of my one team that follow me whenever I work, they would not change it for anything. And I really thought that would be an issue. I mean, as a doctor, if you're really engaged and you're up and down and you're moving around a lot, the day goes quicker. But what I did find was that the entire team right now gets into the sync, and what they did realize was on the other end, they have much more personal freedom, or so it seems. They are more engaged when they're working. They're much less likely to even think about missing a shift. Now, for me personally, this is a personal insight, after doing dentistry for over 36 years, and anybody who's been in that situation, you're naturally going to have problems with your shoulders, with your elbows, with your back. And I do everything I can to work out and stay fit. But at that point, I was still experiencing, your ongoing aches and pains, which most of you, if you're not experiencing now, you probably will. So the 12 hours were a little bit difficult physically, but by the end of, I would say, 6 months of doing this, I had a really interesting thought, and I thought, gee, my back has felt better. My shoulders were feeling a little bit better. And I don't know why physically, or maybe somebody could share that with me as knowledge on that. But I don't know if it's because when we're doing this and when we're in the mode where we're just working right through, and by the end of the second day, physically you're tired. But then as we went through the whole week, I would have to tell you that day to day I'm feeling much better physically, and I'm 60 years old. So it's an interesting thing to consider, notwithstanding the productivity. It's much easier to schedule the doctors and the team around a 12-hour shift. The one doctor that we have with us, he's decided now to do 4 12-hour shifts in a row, and then he takes 5 days off. So he's working more than a 40-hour week. He's young, he's healthy, he's engaged, he's a great dentist. He actually mirrors his wife's shift. So it's an interesting thing that he's done, and what he says as well, his productivity has never been better. His team has never been happier. They would pull his arm off if he decided not to do this anymore. So it's just an interesting aside, and it was a byproduct of this thing that I did to say, if we're going to open longer hours, and I'm going to actually, if I'm going to propose this to some of the younger guys, the old guy's going to do it, so he did it, and I've never been happier.